Well, welcome back to another fishing adventure. And to start this adventure, I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm down one of our local pontoons and I'm trying to collect some live prawn. Now it's really easy to do this. All you need is a net with a mesh size that's very small in diameter, so the prawns do not go actually through the net when you try to collect them. Scraping it along the bottom of the pontoons in the weed usually finds them, and that's what I'm doing here. Nice, simple, nice and easy. And the reason I'm doing this is tomorrow morning I've decided to hit the kayak with some live prawns under a float. So this is my plan: get the prawns, keep them in a live well, and then go fishing. So I've collected a load, I'm ready. I'll see you tomorrow morning out on the water. Well, good morning and welcome back to another fishing adventure afloat. And it's the second trip out this season on HMS Bathtub, and as you can see, it's a picturesque day, absolutely stunning. Little to no wind today, which is absolutely perfect. Once the tide comes against the wind, we will get a slight chop, but it's pretty overcast. It's a bit hazy from the sun up and over that way. But yeah, as you can see, it's a lovely morning. It's about 2 hours before low tide, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to just slowly drift out onto the outer heads where I like to fish, and we'll go from there. But I've got a little bit of a mix up today. I'm not just going to lure fish, I'm also going to stick a float out as well, small little circle hook. I've got some live prawn, not too many, I've tried to keep them alive for a while. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to have this out over the reefs around the slack water when there's not really much movement, and just see if we can pick up something a little bit different, maybe like a wrasse. Probably will get bass, wrasse, maybe pollock, maybe mackerel, depending if they're in the area. I'm just having a little look around, see if I can see any fish on the surface moving around, looking for any birds. There's a bird there, but that is a seagull. We don't mind about seagulls. We want to look for gannets, terns, anything that's having a little pick and flick off the top of the water. That is what we're looking for. You might see a seal pop up as well, but we don't like seals. Give them the bird, they might move away. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drift fish. Nothing too much. I'm actually going to start with the float, I think. Put the float out just while I am plodding around. And that's all I'm going to do. I'm just going to have 2 prawns out. I've got it set to about 10 foot, something like that. And I'm just going to, I'm just not going to do much. I'm just going to leave it around and just let it fish pretty much on its own. And if they get an indication of the float going down, obviously we've got a fish. I'm going to set the drag just in case. I really don't know how this is going to go, to be honest. I've never done this before, but I just thought, while the tide is slow and slack, I thought I'd just give this a go and just have a float out while I drift. And as you can probably see, there's my float just over there. And on the other rod, because it's a cloudy day, I'm going to use a little frosty in a new colour, which is red bone, made for days like this. Well, a little bit slow at the moment, literally no tide at all. So what I've resorted to is leaving the lure rod away, packed away, and I'm just fishing for wrasse or anything that wants to take a live prawn, fished under a float. And I'm just fishing close to these reefs where hopefully there's an absolute pig hugging the rocks. Just using my kayak paddles just to keep in line. Got our first fish on the float. It's not a big fish, but it's our first fish. It's probably a wrasse. It is a wrasse. There we go. Float just shot under. There we go, our first fish. It's what we came for. Lovely little wrasse. Just going to move back out. this area. We're drifting in towards the rock ever so slowly. Wasn't a big fish by all means, but first fish on the board, can't go wrong. And my float just went straight under. But a fish is a fish, and it's our first fish on the technique, which is good. So it's nice to see that there are something around while the tide goes slack, a nice alternative to use whilst out waiting for the tide to kind of turn. Just see my float situated out in front, probably at about 1 o'clock of the yak. And what I'm doing is I'm just moving around these rocks and boulders, and I'm just drifting around them, just trying to keep the float in front of me by paddling the yak. And oh, yup. Oh yes, nice little fight. Oh, this one's fighting like mad. Oh, it's a bass, that's why. It's a bass. Oh, it's a nice bass as well, yes. Right, let's just get away from these rocks. Beautiful. There we go. Bass on the prawn, not bad at all. Wasn't expecting that, to be honest, but it's nice to get our first silver of the day. Taking on that live prawn just underneath the float. Bye, mate. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. An epic bit of sport, that was really good fun. Bass on the prawn, you can't go wrong on that, can you? It's been good fun, this, really good fun. Like I was just saying before that, I'm just drifting along, keeping the nose straight to the float, just so when I'm playing it, I've got everything in front of me, nice and simple. I've got the float probably about 12 foot at the moment, and I've got a little big gun hook, circle hook, just threading a couple of them on and just letting it float, drift, and just waiting for obviously the float to shoot down. And that circle hook usually finds a really nice place and a nice hold in the fish's mouth. Well, so far so good. It's been a fun little session. 2 fish, which I really can't complain at because it's a small tide and we're literally at the lowest part of the tide. So I thought I'd just give you a little introduction to how I'm fishing now. Everyone knows how to float fish. Everyone's float fished before. It's good fun. It's what my old man used to teach me when I was younger. It was kind of like, this is what you're going to do, son, when you start fishing. And it's something that I've adapted over my time. I kind of use it a little differently to what I used to. And this is my setup. I'm just using a little 3000 and a Penn Conflict inshore spinning rod. It's kind of like a spinning rod. It's quite easy, but it's quite fun as well. I've then got 2 float stops at the top, 2 little rubber float stops. I've then got a 23 gram float with a little bead, and underneath bead, weight bead to a small little swivel. And then I've got 20 pound amnesia to a little big gun circle hook. Now the reason I use a circle hook, when using live bait, the fish tend to properly attack it and it finds a nice little fitting in the corner of the mouth or in the lip. Perfect. It doesn't go all the way down the throat, and it's absolutely perfect for what I'm doing here. And what I'm using are prawns, like so, and I'm just putting a couple on the hook, just a couple through the tail, like so. You can see him flipping around. I've got them in my little live well here, just keep refreshing the water. And all I'm doing is just putting 2 of them on like so. Very simple, very easy. And yeah, you couldn't get any more simple, to be honest. And like I was saying before, it's very slow moving at the moment. So what I'm doing is I'm just potting around heads, just having a look at them, trying to find some areas and just drifting through. And I picked up a wrasse to start, and then I picked up a nice surprise bass, which was nice. 2 fish that I was probably hoping to catch on the float, and it does show that there are some bass around. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move slowly over to the next head and then dip that in, keep the kayak straight on the float using the oars, or the paddles as I should say. And yeah, just waiting for that indication of the float going down, and it's easy as that. Great fun, great fishing. Oh, there you go. My float just disappeared there when I wasn't even looking. I was just replacing the batteries on my camera and I got a bite. I think this is a wrasse. It's not really darting around. Oh, it's another bass. It's only small. Second bass of the day, live prawn. Not bad. I'll take that. That really did catch me off guard because I was sorting out the GoPro batteries. I just put the battery in you guys and turned around and my float wasn't there. Well, it does go to show that there are some bass around, which is pretty cool. So you can see my float coming down on its side. It's because I'm pulling on it. So just flick your line off like so and it just uprights itself. Always stay hydrated. As you can see, I'm always on the paddles, always making sure that that float's in front of me. It's an absolute pain in the arse when your float swings around and then behind you. These are definitely places that you can't get in a boat. Surely there's a fish in this area. Surely. Massive boulders below me. How have we not just got a wrasse in that area? I do not know. Always makes me think, if I chucked a soft plastic through there, would I get one? Fish on! Oh. On the float again. I don't know what this is. I think it's a wrasse. Are you filming? Yeah. I think it's a wrasse. Yes, it is a wrasse. It's a nice wrasse. Yes, second wrasse. That's a nicer fish. Oh, he wanted that plastic. A second fish. Nice little wrasse, just taking on a prawn. Can't go wrong with that. Gone. Yes. Well, that is the session over. The float fishing's been quite fun, to be honest. It's my first time ever doing it, especially out here. Not the first time ever, but the first time on my kayak, and it's been great fun. The little circle hook's a genius. Comes into play perfectly, but it's kind of slow going. I don't know if it's because there's just not many fish around, but I've just not really caught much at all. I've not really had a lot of bites, which I thought I was going to do. So I'm glad you enjoyed it, and I hope you've learned a little bit like I have as well. I'm going to use mono next time instead of braid. It was just causing so many problems, but that's just fishing and that's how the cookie crumbles. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to head back home. So thanks very much for watching. It's been a great session, If you liked it, thumbs up as always. If you don't bother. But if you haven't subscribed to the channel, welcome. Make sure you press subscribe, click the bell notification, and every time that I upload a video or a story or something on the community page, it will pop up and you can say hello. I'm going to say goodbye. Thank you for watching.